Hello, my name is Alyssa Terrell, and I chose to do my presentation on forensic toxicology, so I chose the Chicago Tylenol murders. What is postmortem toxicology? Simply put, it's an application of science to determine whether or not a substance had an impact on an individual's death. This can be important in cases that involve overdose, and it's very essential to most cases as it can reveal what we can't see with our own eyes. Just some background information about the case. September 28, 1982, a 12-year-old girl was killed after complaining from a sore throat shortly after taking the medicine, and later on died in that day. The same day as well, a postal worker was also found dead, as well as his brother and sister-in-law from using the same bottle of Tylenol as he did. Eventually, it became a public health crisis because no one knew why the people were dying. It wasn't known at the time that it was stemmed from the Tylenol, it was just people were dying. And ultimately, over the time of this case, 7 people did die. What does post-mortem toxicology have to do with these murders? Well, until tests were run, people didn't know what was happening until cyanide was found in each of the victims' systems. Later, police began to link that to Tylenol, as they revealed that the culprit must have removed the bottle from stores to tamper with them and then bring them back to the store and put them back on the shelves. They knew this because each of the bottles came from different factories, which means the manufacturer itself was not putting them in them. After this, police began broadcasting and shouting warnings through neighborhoods to make sure that people knew not to take the drug. Without toxicology reports being run on the victims, more people would have died. A little more information on the case. More than 93,000 bottles were part of the batches involved in these deaths, which caused Johnson & Johnson to recall all 31 million bottles of Tylenol that were currently out of production. With help from law enforcement, the 5 bottles that were from the different factories at the time of them starting to collect and link these together, they concluded that it was someone else and not the Johnson & Johnson company putting cyanide in the medication. 3 more tampered bottles were unfortunately found after the recall was put out, and 2 of the suspects were James W. Lewis and Roger Arnold. James W. Lewis contacted Johnson & Johnson and basically with a ransom note saying that if they gave him a large amount of money, he would stop, and he was arrested for extortion and was not connected. Roger Arnold, on the other hand, was investigated after a tip going into a bar saying that he was in possession of cyanide. He was found not guilty, and he ended up killing a stranger who he thought was the one who turned him into the police. Turns out he was not involved and was found guilty of second-degree murder. Still to this day, no one has been found guilty for the Tylenol murders. Change was implemented. Now, Tylenol was the catalyst of this change. They started doing multiple safety seals, adding the do not use if seals are broken, and they switched from using capsules to hard pills, and that really helped reduce some of the stress, I believe, by some of the users of the drug, and it also caused a lot of the other medicine companies to do the same with theirs. The importance of forensics experts in this case. From start to finish, they had many tasks involved in this. They ran tests on the victims who had passed to find the cause of their passing. Next, they came to a conclusion that it was caused by an outsider and not the manufacturer. During the investigation, any bottles that were found to have cyanide in them were handed over to them for further testing. And talking about present day, with new technology coming around, both of the suspects talked about earlier were retested for any DNA match of cyanide and were both found to be cleared, along with anyone else who had touched or tampered with evidence during the case. Here's the references that I used in case you wanted to look at them. And if you have any other remaining questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Thank you for listening.